Iran promises World War III and apocalypse. Israel plans to attack Iran. Turkey prepares for special operation in Syria, and Russia sells weapons to the Houthis. A war has begun in the Middle East. Hello, Ilya Brizhak. Let's discuss this. Iran promises that if Israel responds to their attack on Tel Aviv, Iran will cause an apocalypse in the entire region. Iran promised, I quote, to rain hell on Israel and burn all the oil fields in the Middle East. Experts say that if this happens, the price of gasoline in the U.S. will rise, and in this case, the U.S. will act very harshly, and nothing will be left of Iran. And Iran itself understands this very well. Experts also agree that Israel will strike Iran in the next 48 hours. American General Kurilla has already arrived in Israel, who is discussing possible scenarios for waging war in the region. Jordanian sources said they had received a warning from the U.S. that an Israeli attack on Iran would begin in the coming days. The Iranian Mayor Agency, citing a representative, reports that flights from all Iranian airports have been canceled since Sunday evening. Beirut International Airport has also canceled all flights. Netanyahu said that Israel has the duty and right to respond to Iran's attack and promised to do so. In turn, Iran evacuated its ships from a number of ports. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot called on Israel not to touch Iranian nuclear facilities. In response, the Israeli foreign minister invited France to take part in preparing and launching a retaliatory strike against Iran. Netanyahu also called Macron's proposal to impose an arms embargo on Israel a disgrace and said that his country would defeat everyone without the help of the West. It is obvious that the escalation of the conflict in the region is at its highest point, and a massive strike in many directions will occur in the near future. A few days ago, following his predecessor, the new head of Hezbollah, Hashem Safi ad-Din, was liquidated in Damascus. This was officially reported by Al Arabiya. In parallel with this, Naim Qassem, who held the highest position in the movement, resigned. The likely successor of the deceased, newly minted leader of Hezbollah was also killed as a result of an Israeli strike on the suburbs of Beirut. Arab media also discussed the disappearance of the commander of the Quds Force, Ismail Qani. The leadership of the Quds Special Forces denied the information about his death. It is claimed that he is alive and well. It is worth recalling that Qani's predecessor, Qasem Soleimani, was liquidated by the American Army in January 2020. Meanwhile, the Israeli military has issued an evacuation warning to residents in 2 cities in the central Gaza Strip. They plan to attack Hezbollah groups there. In turn, Hamas is calling on residents of Jabalia not to respond to the Israeli authorities' demand to move to the southern Gaza Strip. Hamas's Ministry of Internal Security is calling on citizens to move to neighboring areas of the city in case of danger, and then return to their homes as soon as possible. The day before yesterday marked exactly 1 year since the massacre in Israel. Since October 7, 2023, more than 26,000 rockets and drones have been fired at Israel. 13,200 launches from Gaza, 12,400 launches from Lebanon, 400 launches from Iran, 180 launches from Yemen, 60 launches from Syria, and several launches from Iraq. Israel continues to strike Lebanon and the Gaza Strip. The previous night, Israel launched more than 35 strikes on the Dahiyah neighborhood of Beirut. The Lebanese news agency reported that it was the most brutal night since the war began. The attacks targeted ammunition depots located directly under residential buildings, causing secondary explosions. The attack killed dozens of terrorists, including one of the leaders of Hezbollah's precision missile project. And in the north of the Gaza Strip, the terrorist infrastructure that Hamas is trying to revive has been destroyed. Jabalia is surrounded again, and its remaining residents have been asked to move to the central and southern humanitarian areas. The IDF continues to call on residents of the southern suburbs of Beirut to evacuate immediately. In response to this, 2 ballistic missiles flew into Israel from Lebanon. There are casualties. There were also flights to Tel Aviv from the Gaza Strip. There are wounded. There is also information on the internet about a certain Israeli strike on the Russian Khmeimim base in Syria. Here is what experts know about this. The German publication Bild reported that the strike was carried out on the Khmeimim base to destroy weapons that were allegedly intended for Hezbollah. A representative of the opposition Syrian television company, Syria TV, Abdullah al-Musa, also noted that the attack was carried out after the arrival of an Iranian plane at the facility. Bild, citing its sources, wrote that this plane allegedly belongs to Russia and is transporting weapons under the guise of humanitarian aid for the Lebanese. After which the Russian ambassador to Israel called on Russian citizens to leave the Jewish state due to the escalation between Israel and Lebanon. Was there really a strike on the Russian base in Syria? According to some reports, the attack was carried out on the city of Jableh. Some of the missiles were shot down by Russian air defense systems, while others reached their target. The target of the attack was a warehouse used by Syrian and Iranian military personnel. For the attack, the Israelis used Delilah cruise anti-radar missiles and, according to some reports, GBU family-guided bombs. According to information from a Russian source, there was no strike on Khmeimim itself. According to them, such attacks are excluded, as they would lead to even greater escalation. Let me remind you that a strategic agreement was recently signed between Russia and Iran, which implies a common course in relation to opponents. Iran has already asked Russia for help in satellite warning of the Israeli-American response to its strike on Israel. But here's what's more interesting. According to the WSJ, Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout, released from prison in the U.S. 2 years ago in exchange for an American basketball player, is an intermediary in a new deal to sell weapons from Russia to the Yemeni Houthis. Representatives of the Houthis arrived in Moscow in August to promote the deal, under the guise of buying cars and fertilizer. According to the WSJ, Russia is selling the Houthis AK-74 assault rifles, as well as air defense and anti-tank missiles. The deal will be completed in the coming days, under the guise of humanitarian aid that will arrive at the port of Hodeidah. We will closely monitor what is happening in Yemen. At the same time, the Turkish president said that Israel is challenging Turkey. During his speech at Technofest 2024 in Adana, Erdogan said that Israel's plans in the region are not limited to Palestine and Lebanon, that Israel is challenging Turkey after them, and the Israeli leadership is literally entering a race for this. The representative of the Yemeni Houthis, Abu Kaiti, expressed concern about the growing likelihood of the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah spreading to Syria and wondered about the actions of Qatar and Turkey aimed at preventing U.S. activity in the region. He reproached the countries for inaction, saying that Turkey and Qatar have not done anything yet. In turn, Turkish journalist Amberin Zaman noted that no one takes Erdogan's statements seriously, adding that Turkey is a NATO member and helps supply Israel's military needs, allowing Azerbaijan to export oil to Israel through Turkish ports, which covers almost half of its needs. This is not the first time that sources have claimed that Turkey and Israel have close trade ties. However, this statement by Erdogan probably concerns the following information. Sources report that Turkey and the Syrian National Army are preparing for a limited ground operation in northern Syria. Turkey's main goal is to create a 30-kilometer safe zone. However, the only thing that can confirm this news is the visit of the commander of the Turkish ground forces to the front lines in Syria. Over the past 2 years, this special operation has been postponed several times. However, today it is worth considering the rapidly developing conflict in the region. At the moment, Turkey has carried out 4 full-scale military operations in Syria in 2016, 2018, in 2019, and 2020. And apparently Germany is also interested in this. For the first time in many years, the German government has approved large-scale arms exports to Turkey worth around 336 million euros. The list prepared for the German parliament includes 100 surface-to-air missiles and torpedoes for the Turkish Navy, as well as equipment for the modernization of submarines and frigates. The German Ministry of Economics said that arms exports to Turkey would be allowed if they included joint projects with EU or NATO partners. Accordingly, Turkey's plans for a ground operation in Syria do not diverge from Germany's plans. Meanwhile, Lebanese refugees are fleeing the country wherever they can. About 2,000 people from Lebanon have arrived in areas controlled by Turkey and the Syrian National Army in northern Syria. According to the Lebanese newspaper Al Akhbar, about 500,000 Lebanese residents have already fled to Syria in the last 2 weeks, 10% of Lebanon's population. This does not include people who left Lebanon by air. Also, due to the ongoing IDF air attack, hundreds of people arrived in Turkey from Lebanon by ferry. Many of them said they would not stay in Turkey and would go to other countries. The Turkish Foreign Ministry warned its citizens in Lebanon that alternative evacuation plans by sea and air have been prepared for them. Apparently, a lot of important information awaits us in the near future. Subscribe. Write in the comments what you think about this. Boost in Patreon for those who want to support the channel. See you.